everyone, and welcome to another episode of All My Best Friends Are Digital, a podcast about video games and the stories they tell. I'm one of your hosts, Caitlin Bailey, and with me I have my co-host, Mark Bigney. Mark, how are you doing?
You nailed it, Caitlin. All of these things are true and undeniable.
So, as usual, we are going to be starting with what we are currently playing. Then we're going to follow it up with our retro segment, where we're going to talk about Ogre Battle, March of the Black Queen. Then we will jump into Dispatch, which is going to be a spoiler-free version of our Dispatch discussion. We've had many spoiler-filled discussions on our Patreon, if you're interested in those.
Including ones where Caitlin swears like crazy.
I really try during these, but, you know, I think I let go a little bit of the leash on my language. And then we'll end by shameless hyping of upcoming titles in our Shout segment. All right, so Mark, why don't you tell me what you are currently playing?
Okay, so a while ago, I started replaying the Prince of Persia games, the trilogy that was released on the PS2, and conventionally known as the Prince of Persia 3D trilogy, which is an awkward setup I do not approve. Especially since there was a game called Prince of Persia 3D that eventually became something else. It was garbage. Anyhow, I am talking about The Sands of Time, Warrior Within, and The Two Thrones. I largely skipped The Warrior Within because I played just enough to remind myself about how very awkward it is and how very emo late 90s, seething with generic rage, nu metal, mullet, long hair kind of, it's not a good scene. And even the quality platforming of the Prince of Persia series couldn't quite save what was going on. And I remembered having very positive feelings about Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones, but I'd never gone back to replay it. I'd replayed the original Sands of Time a couple of times. But The Two Thrones, I remember it was largely emerging from the shadow of The Warrior Within, no pun intended, but nonetheless was a little bit colored by it, like the combat system in particular is a little strange, and some of it is the attempts of The Warrior Within to elaborate on the combat system. And sometimes in video games, you figure, this system was kind of parsimonious. Let's, flesh it out and let it have more prominence in the gameplay. It's like, no. It was better when it was a small thing that you didn't spend much time with. Because if you make it have a greater prominence in the gameplay, even if you make the systems better, sometimes that's still just a distraction from what's actually good in the game. I'm not going to say that the combat is bad in the Prince of Persia games, but as to sum up what I was saying before, it was good when it was a small piece of a larger whole in Sands of Time, as opposed to Warrior Within and The Two Thrones that give it more prominence and more details, and more intricacies, but all told, it's not a good trade to be had. One introduction that Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones does is there are now stealth kills, which is good insofar as it prevents you from fighting. So, they're basically very demanding QuickTime events that allow you to murder things without engaging in combat, but the fact that they're so demanding is undercut by the fact that, as you can in all of these games, you can rewind time. And so it makes perfect sense when failing these QuickTime events to rewind time to just before them and then try again, perhaps even 2 or 3 times in succession, and then you only have to engage in the unpleasant slog of a fight, or rather, to be more charitable, the very challenging slog of a fight, if you run out of second chances afforded by your time rewind power. So there's that. So combat remains meh. The stealth kills are kind of meh, but I think they serve a better purpose than the overall combat. The traversal, the platforming, the environments are the key appeal to Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones, much like all the other Prince of Persia games. When approaching to replay it, I kept thinking, okay, so there's a finite of traversal tools that the Prince has, and there are a couple of new ones in The Two Thrones, sure, but surely that leads to a finite number of combinations of arrangements you can make, of different jumps or different kinds of environments you can create. That may be true, but they're endlessly engaging. It is so satisfying to be able to navigate through these environments with the various traversal tools that the Prince has, of running along this wall, jumping off to grab onto a pillar, and then going to a moving platform and shoving your dagger in the little plate and then running off that. It's a whole thing. And that's the key appeal to these games, the platforming. And The Two Thrones has that, and it is very, very, very good.
Nice.
On top of that, The Two Thrones now has, it's called the Two Thrones because the prince is kind of sort of possessed by a dark alter ego that sometimes manifests himself, who has even more traversal powers, and thankfully is even better at combat, so the combats tend to be very, very short. But the problem is that your life bar continuously goes down when you're in this alter ego, and the only way you can prevent this is by murdering something. And so those sequences tend to be very tense and fast-paced, and those are great. I quite like them. They're a little bit of a jarring transition from one to the other, but they lead to some pretty good set pieces, and they feel a little bit more organic than the sort of you are being chased by a terrible, unkillable monster that you sometimes encounter in games of the Silk, and indeed, as was present in Warrior Within.
Is this triggered by story beats that you are taken over by this alter ego?
Yes, there are specific story beats, and indeed, the specific... You can tell that the story beats are coming because you might see off in the distance those traversal elements that only the dark version of the prince can navigate. So it's incredibly artificial seeming, but nonetheless it works in terms of gameplay, so I'm not going to object. And it lasts until the prince next encounters water. Water being a sort of purifying element, it heals you in the Prince of Persia games of this era. And indeed, sometimes the dark version of the prince starts taunting you if there isn't water nearby. And it does its job. It's nice. It leads to some tension because the rest of the time, you can take your time and figure out, okay, I'm going to run from here to there. Wait, can I make that jump? I don't know. Let me look around and see if there's a safer version. As opposed to when you're the Dark Prince, where you just have to keep running all the time and kind of trust that you'll be able. It leads to a definitely a more freewheeling sense of inertia. And the graphics have aged okay. It's a PS2 game. The seams are showing absolutely. But I will say that one chief difference between The Prince of Persia: The Two Thrones and a lot of other games of, say, 5 to 10 years before it is we're starting to emerge into like a slightly more modern conception about how a camera should work in a 3D game. Which is to say, most of the time, they're letting hands off. And they're expecting that you're going to be shifting your perspective with the right stick, and it does so pretty comfortably. And so, contrary to a lot of other platformers of this ilk, or again, slightly older, where I feel like, oh yeah, so that's how they used to do things, it felt far more like a contemporary third-person platformer, in that the camera was more or less under my constant control. It didn't feel too dodgy. It didn't feel like I was wrestling with the thing. On occasion, you can shift to a sort of bigger bird's eye perspective or a broader viewpoint, but that's only when the game wants to let you know what's going to happen, like 3 or 4 jumps along a sequence of a platforming challenge, and it works fine. And one of the things that I remembered and I was nervous about when playing The Two Thrones was whether or not I was going to appreciate the story. Because the prince is kind of a rogue, and in The Two Thrones, he's kind of grappling with the consequences of him being a kind of irresponsible rogue, and he's learning a little bit of gravitas, but it's not super somber, unlike The Warrior Within. And he basically redoes the events of the first game due to some time travel shenanigans, but from a completely different perspective and with a completely different initial starting point. I just find it really satisfying. I was charmed all over once again. Now, I started my replay rather a long time ago, several months, and it stalled hardcore because there's this one puzzle, Caitlin.
Oh, no.
That I remember very distinctly. I remember the puzzle. I don't remember how to solve the puzzle very distinctly.
Of course.
And I just can't do it. Now, the obvious response is, look, GameFAQs still exists, you big baby. Go and check a guide. Now, that's fine, but there's something that I find... I was playing this on a variety of handheld devices, right? I played this on an Odin. I played this on a Pocket S. I played it on all manner of things. But the problem is there's something terribly strange to me about sitting with a handheld device in front of a computer to check a walkthrough. And it's not something I want to do. Normally, when I'm playing on a handheld device, I'm sitting on a couch or I'm in bed or whatever. Enter the new dual screen devices. I've got all these dual screen devices now, right? There's the AYN Thor and there's the iNeo Pocket DS. I recommend the iNeo Pocket DS, even though it's substantially more expensive. I find it a much better build, and I also just like the ergonomics a lot better, although there's something to be said for the AYN Thor, whatever. Eventually, AYN, having made the Thor, the Loki, and the Odin, will make an AYN tier. They have to. No tier, no sale. Gotta get to tier. Tier is my favorite figure in Norse mythology. Setting that aside. But now I can have a walkthrough on the lower screen while I'm playing the game on the upper screen. And this is what I plan to do going forward with Chrono Trigger on the rare occasions when I get stuck, because I did get stuck. And
That's amazing.
I know. It's awesome. No longer will there be like a month-long delay where I'm like replaying a retro game. It's like, oh, I'm stuck. Oh, I'll close this, play one of the other hundreds of retro games that I want to get through. It's like, no.
Yeah.
No. Just open the browser window on the lower window and have the walkthrough available. And it was great. And this is what prompted me to go back to the Two Thrones after all this time, getting these new handhelds. And I got past that stupid puzzle. And sure enough, none of the other puzzles I needed a walkthrough for. It's just this one puzzle in the Two Thrones that I cannot figure out every time. I don't know if this is just the second time. Maybe it's the third or fourth time, but I get stuck on it every single time, Caitlin.
Yeah. You know, that is so funny to me, like the walkthrough thing. Because I hate looking stuff up on my phone. I don't like typing on my phone. It is my most like old person trait.
I hate my phone. I have been carrying throughout almost all my life some sort of digitized thing in my pocket. I had Palm Pilots, and people made fun of me, Caitlin, back before smartphones were on. No, seriously, I got endless amounts of flack. I had Palm Pilots, I had Pocket PCs back in the day. That's a really old piece of tech. I've always done this. And now I'm the one who uses my pocket supercomputer vastly less often than everybody else. It's deeply alienating, and yes, I hate phones. I see the amount of people... Yeah, okay, I'm in full old man rant now. I spend a lot of money on digital toys, right? I just talked about 2 right off the top of my head, right? And I see the amount of money that people spend on phones, and I'm like, are you serious? My phones, as a rule, are like $100. Some sort of refurbished, unlocked piece of crap, because the idea of getting something that's more or less the same kind of slab, but slightly zippier and maybe a tad sexier for like $1,200, I cannot fathom.
Yeah, that's rough. Yeah, like, I don't know, when I'm sitting in front of my PC, I will very easily just open up a browser window, Google something. I will never look at a video guide unless it's the only option. Yeah. And we're good. But on my phone, I just can't. I hate it. I hate it so much. I don't mind. I use my phone a lot, but I hate using my phone to look stuff up. It's, or at least things like guides where I need to find a specific point in a long thing of text. Like, it just doesn't feel good.
It doesn't feel good. It feels bad. It's not a good scene. It's a bad scene. And yes. I don't understand. I don't understand how some people do all their lives on their phone. Like,
me either.
Ordering food, whatever. I'm like, I'm going to go get a tablet or something. I need a little bit more.
Larger screen.
It's not that I can't see.
Yeah, no, I know.
There's not, like, my eyesight is fine. That's not the old man rant that I'm engaged in now. I'm engaged in the old man rant where it's like, these websites, first of all, a third of it is taken up by interface, another third of it is taken up by ads, and the remaining third is presented in poorly optimized text, despite the fact that everything is nominally optimized for mobile now. I'm sorry. I will take a miss on that. So that's which version of the Two Thrones.
Yeah, it's great. Oh, man. So, I am playing My Little Puppy. It is a... Yeah. It's a game that, if you're an animal person, is designed to make you cry. You play as a Welsh Corgi, and I'm probably going to butcher his name, so I'm sorry. I believe it's Korean, but it's a Welsh Corgi named Bongu, who is in dog heaven, and he...
Wait, you start with the dog being dead?
Yes, you do.
I was told that in popular culture... No, I'm only a third joking here. I'm 2/3 seriously. My understanding was that in popular culture, you could not acknowledge the truth that dogs ever die.
Yeah, no, this dog is super dead. He's got a little halo and everything.
Okay.
So you're in dog heaven, and you got there before your owner did because you don't live nearly as long. And then you catch the scent of the man who was your owner, and Bangu always refers to this person as his daddy. And, and he sets off on an adventure to reunite with him. So I have to say, I'm already in an emotionally fragile state when it comes to dogs, because I have a 13-year-old German Shepherd and I have a 17-year-old mixed breed. Actually, they're both mixed breeds, but whatever. And they're both like doing fine, but I know that I don't have a ton of time left for them.
The actuarial realities are weighing on your mind. I can understand.
Oh, yes. So playing My Little Puppy, it made me cry in, like, the prologue. So
Sure.
it's like,
I didn't know that you could mess with dead dogs. Like,
yeah,
wow.
this definitely messes with dead dogs. So yeah, you're on a journey to find your owner. It's basically like a light platformer. You have a button you can do which will show, the direction that your dad is in. Basically, because, like, it's his scent, and you'll see, like, a little, like, wafting pink line leading off into the distance. And there's, just like any of these games, you get to a new area, and you can't make it past an obstacle, so you have to help another creature or another dog or whatever that's in that new area in order to continue. It's painfully cute because you're a corgi. And, he's got his little butt just kind of waggles a bit when he walks. And I've been having a pretty good time with it. It's not super, like, it's interesting. There's not really any dialogue. All of the dialogue is basically in, like, there's a speech bubble with a picture.
Okay.
So, there'll be a little bit of text. It'll be like, I want to go see my dad. But then, when the dog speaks, there's just a speech bubble with a little picture of his dad's head.
Sure, sure. But the dog is capable of speech. It's not rendered as speech, but the dog can speak.
Yes, it's a little unclear to me whether, like, I'm pretty sure the dog is being a dog and probably just barking.
Okay.
But somehow the gist gets across to all of the other people and dogs that he meets on his journey. So.
Okay, so it's kind of left ambiguous as to what specific message they're parsing.
I think so.
But the dog is able to communicate with other entities, including but not limited to other dead dogs.
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
They've all got that little halo. Although not everything has the halo, which is interesting. There's some, like, stark... Oh. There's, like, these scary, like, dark blob enemies that'll chase you and steal your halo, and that, like, basically kills you a second time, and that's a game
heaven?
over, and you have to start over. Well, okay, that's the other thing. You're in dog heaven at the beginning, and you have a golden halo, and everything's perfect, and there's no baddies. But then you need to leave dog heaven to go somewhere else that still kind of seems like it's the afterlife, but it's no longer... It's not hell, specifically, but it's definitely not heaven, because it's dangerous. I don't know. It's weird.
Is the corgi's owner in purgatory? Like, what's the cosmology going on? No, I mean it. Like,
no idea. I'm still figuring that out.
You don't have to have a rigorous cosmology in your game necessarily, but if you're going to be traversing to different elements of the afterlife, you need to have at least some gloss as to what the heck's going on.
Yeah, I'm hoping that I will learn eventually, because I do not know what the thing is right now. I know that I was in dog heaven, which was safe and pretty, and I had a gold halo, and then after I left, the angel who was the caretaker of dog heaven, not God heaven.
I mean, like, that too, one assumes, but...
Yeah. Touch the halo, and then the halo becomes, like, white or, like, silver, so it's not gold anymore. And I don't understand. I have no idea what's going on.
I'm borderline troubled by all this. This is strange.
It's odd. But it's cute. You play a corgi, and
sure.
I've shouted out so many games where you play a dog protagonist. When I saw this, I was like, I think I might have to play that. So, My Little Puppy.
I can completely understand why you find it emotionally resonant, because games involve, like any stories even as well, dealing with the afterlife, it's a very easy buy-in for high emotional stakes, right? I think of Spiritfarer, I think of Before Your Eyes, I think of all these kinds of games where it's like immediate stakes, immediate pathos, right? And then when you start involving cute dogs, well then that's just a force multiplier if it's anything.
Oh, big time. It has overwhelmingly positive reviews. At this point, I'm a few hours into My Little Puppy. I would say that those overwhelming positive reviews are probably mostly on the power of people being charmed by dogs. Like, the gameplay is fine, the story is cute, but it's not, like, mind-blowing or anything, you know? So, it's cute dead dogs in heaven, Like,
Yep.
it gets people in the feels.
These are your words, not mine. Send all your hate mail to Caitlin.
Yes.
I can't help but notice that on the Steam page it says, "Is this game relevant to you?" This game doesn't look like other things you've played in the past. It's like, sure enough, Steam, you get me.
Indeed. Oh, sorry. There was one thing I wanted to say about it, which was that it did remind me, not entirely, but it felt similar to Little Kitty Big City. Because you get to do dog stuff instead of cat stuff. You have a stamina bar that's very similar. But unlike Little Kitty Big City, I don't think you need to get your stamina bar to a point where you can just get back up to your apartment or whatever. The stamina bar growing doesn't seem to be required at all. But it does let you run further, which is nice. Anyway.
And also, Little Kitty Big City had no troubling and possibly incoherent implications about the afterlife.
Correct, yes.
Which, to be fair, most games don't have that.
Also true.
If I had a slightly different preference set, this would totally be my catnip, because emotionally manipulative catharsis is, on occasion, totally my jam. No, I mean
yes.
it. Like,
no, I get it, yeah.
I enjoy a good tearjerker. There are lots of games that make me cry. It's wonderful. Every time Trollkiss and Achilles get reunited in Hades, I weep like a small child. Mm-hmm, so it's totally reasonable. I understand.
Okay, so now we can move on to our gaming opinions on old school funware, aka GOOF, where we are going to be talking about Ogre Battle, March of the Black Queen. Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about it?
So Freddie Mercury was a god of popular culture and left behind a lasting, towering legacy, such that there's this video game series called Ogre Battle, which always wants to give a subtitle to its games based on some sort of Queen lyric. Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing to stress. Yes. So the first game in the Ogre Battle series, which was later retconned to be called Ogre Battle Episode 5, I swear, everybody wants to be Star Wars. I know. Everybody wants to be Star Wars. Nobody wants to start with Episode 1 anymore. Everyone's like, we can start with whatever episode you want. Yeah, sure. Do whatever you feel like. It's like, okay, so apparently retconned to Episode 5. I've got no idea. Don't ask.
Got it.
Sure, it's got something to do with the chronology of whatever the hell happened anywhere. So, the original version was published by Quest Corporation and by Enix in 1983 for the Super Nintendo. This version was later republished to much more widespread reception in for the Sony PlayStation and the Sega Saturn. I had most of my experiences with the Super Nintendo version, although I have a couple of comments about the Sony PlayStation version to be shared later. Okay. So this is a real-time strategy game-ish, where you are basically managing units of up to 6 soldiers and then sending them out into the wide world, and if they run up against another enemy unit, they fight in a kind of an auto-battle setup, predating a lot of the auto-battle conventions that we now take for granted. And you're trying to capture cities and get more units, and you have to worry about paying for your units, but don't worry, you can get that by capturing cities, which will give you more income, which is great. But most of the time, you're really just managing these units, because right after the initial tutorial, after the first practice map, you're given a full roster. It's like, good luck, go
yes,
to town. And they don't believe in tutorializing in 1993. Oh, no, they don't. They want to throw you in the deep end with a whole bunch of stats and a whole bunch of weird stuff. Oh, yeah. Go crazy. And that is Ogre Battle, March of the Black Queen.
Yeah.
Oh, there's some plot about some queen, some rebellion, something, whatever. I mean, who cares?
Yeah. Honestly, I already forget what the plot was. It was not terribly memorable.
It's like what I talked about in the context of Vandal Hearts. Vandal Hearts, Final Fantasy Tactics, all these tactics games. Ogre Battle's the same deal. There's some empire, some rebellion somewhere, a whole bunch of nobles and some conflict, blah, 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 blah. I don't remember.
Yeah, stuff is happening.
Yeah, stuff's going down.
Yeah, so March of the Black Queen reminded me an awful lot of Unicorn Overlord.
No kidding.
I was like, oh, I when I played Unicorn Overlord, I didn't remember playing a game that had been like that. And then I played Ogre Battle. So I played Ogre Battle years and years and years ago. Remembered almost nothing. So, I started remembering some things while I was playing. But I was very surprised to basically see everything from Unicorn Overlord except for the ability to skip battles, which I really, really, really wanted.
It's strange because a lot of contemporary reviews at the time, I was doing a little bit of research, were like, oh, you can't control individual commands in battle, meh. And it's like, I don't know. You seem to have about as much control as you need, frankly.
Yeah.
I mean, what, you wanted to specifically tell your random knights to attack with their sword? What else are they going to do? I mean, sure, being able to choose your specific target might give you a little bit of nuance, but you're already able to set the broad tactics. Like, you can tell them all to try to assassinate the leader. You can tell them to attack the target where they'll do the most damage. You can tell them all to attack the target with the fewest hit points. Whatever. Like, they're going to do what they're going to do, and you understand the broad parameters of what that is. And the fights take long enough as it is. I don't need them to take longer by virtue of navigating all these menus.
Yeah, definitely not, because there's a lot of battles during each battle in Ogre Battle.
Oh, yeah. It's not like Unicorn Overlord where everybody does something once, where everyone gets the 2 action points and that's it. Yeah. And so frequently the fights end in some sort of stalemate. Ogre Battle, they don't always fight to the death, but I never quite internalized what made them decide to stop. But they decide to stop after a certain time.
Yeah, apparently, so I did not read any guides or anything. I was going to, and then I was like, you know what? I'm going to just YOLO it, and then if I get stuck, I'll read something.
I believe the term is not to YOLO it. I believe the term is to Caitlin the game.
Caitlin the game? Well, I definitely Caitlined this, because I ended up not reading anything. But there was something somewhere buried in a menu where you could see how many actions somebody was going to take, or which action and how many by virtue of where they were. So if you're in the front row, some people do a different attack than if they're in the back row, and they may attack more or less often depending on where they were. So I did learn that.
I did read the manual, and yet nonetheless here I am not shocked that I completely missed that.
Yeah.
So I will say this about the manual. It does a kind of okay job at setting up how the overall menu structure works. Fine. There's so many menus and so many sub-menus and so much information to process. Really, at that point, I was like, yeah, it'll either make sense in context or I'm not going to retain it. And then what it has is basically a walkthrough through the first few chapters, which is good news and bad news. It's good news because it keys you into some things like the fact that on the first map, there's a hidden city you're supposed to go liberate.
Yes, I remembered that from 20 years ago.
Oh, you remembered
that?
Okay, good.
I did.
Because when I was reading this, I'm like, I wonder how Caitlin's going to react to this. But in the PlayStation version, I'll say a little bit more about that later, I guess, they literally won't let you finish the first map. What happens is the dude, the wizard dude, Warren, he's like, yeah, maybe go check the rest of the map. Maybe you'll find something and then come back later, okay?
Okay.
Because you really need to find that city. It's just not marked on the map. You need to send a random unit to some random island and have to wait for them to cross the strait that they're not really good at because they don't swim very well.
It's a whole forever.
Well, that's just it. It's a real-time strategy game where all you do, this is kind of an understatement, but whatever, all you do is arrange, deploy, and direct units. Mm-hmm. Like, okay, group of dudes, go there. And then you wait for them to get there while maybe some other enemy units are slowly dragging themselves across the map. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
And I guess the logic was therefore we best start you out with a whole bunch of units so it makes it look like you're doing something.
Yeah, I could not remember the balance between money and how many units you could have deployed. So I erred on the side of deploying fewer units, which was fine, I guess, but it meant that some of those missions would take a long time. And I had one where I swear, every single time the day was about to roll over and I would get paid, I would draw a card that would bring us back to nighttime. I'd draw the moon card. And I kept skipping the getting paid part. So I did that entire level, which I was there for probably 30 minutes by constantly just skipping. It was ridiculous.
Well, on the bright side, although you're not getting tribute from your liberated cities, I guess you weren't paying your soldiers either.
Also true. Yeah, they had to fight for a long time with no compensation.
That all these soldiers and beastmen and ghosts and stuff were like, when are we clocking out? I think I've been on the job for 56 continuous hours. It's like, no, Apparently shift doesn't end for another 6 hours. That doesn't seem to make any sense. That's
how it works when there's tarot cards involved, I guess.
Yeah, so let's talk about the tarot cards. They've fulfill a number of functions. They give you one-shots when you liberate cities. You draw a tarot card that triggers an event. Like, you draw the devil card, you lose 2 points of alignment. Then the town boos you, which was adorable.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's weird. Ogre Battle is strangely cute in a variety of strange ways. I don't mean cutesy. Like, they're kind of super deformed, I guess. They're kind of chunky little figures.
Yeah.
But there's just these strange little flourishes of personality. So it starts with, this is a conceit that was introduced earlier in PC gaming, but it wasn't as very widespread when they did it, of asking you a whole bunch of pseudo-moral questions. Right. And then determining what your initial stats are. I didn't play around with that too much. I didn't see a tremendous variety the couple times that I messed around with it. But whatever, it's fun. It gives you.
I forgot that's what it did. I couldn't remember what the purpose of that was.
Yeah, it's cool. It's a way to get buy-in. It's a way to make you think that your character, your stand-in is unique. But it's the illusion of variety, which is fine by that. I'm more than happy to buy in. There are weird voice clips all over the place that are shockingly charming. Liberation. I get charmed anytime there's good voice clips. This is 93 in the Super Nintendo. You liberate a city and some digitized lady says, "Liberation!" Yeah. And then you get booed by the townspeople for drawing the devil card, and then you encounter another unit, and then some digitized lady says, "Fight it out!" It's like, this is... I was not expecting any of that.
Yeah, I love it. There's so many, like, random little charming flourishes in Ogre Battle.
So, but there's a limit, though, right? Like, I love a lot of what Ogre Battle's doing. I just wish they would take, like, 20% off the top. Like, there's a certain point where the mechanisms and everything like that is fine, but then the cumbersome menu system and the poor information organization really can't keep up.
Yeah.
I was borderline shocked when I started the second map, because I had deployed a unit, recruited another one from the hidden city, and beaten up some dude who was the kind of the narrator at the beginning of the game. It's like, okay, I've been introduced to 3 named characters, and so I thought, okay, how many units do I have? 3 units filled with random? No. You are full of randos. They've got names and they've got other units there. Some of them are knights, some of them aren't. What are beastmen? What's the difference between a beastman and a knight? Why do I have ghosts? Why are the ghosts working for me? What a ghost! I don't know. Like, Unicorn Overlord, at least by the end of it, if anyone would recall when we reviewed a Unicorn Overlord, I'm like, oh, it's kind of cute. Not a huge fan of the way it represents women, but too much. I don't want to be the quartermaster of a large army of units and figure out how to equip them all and arrange them to maximum effect. Ogre Battle was not listening to me when I said that. And said, like, oh, you want to do that starting in scenario 2, don't you? And I'm like, no, I don't. Can we have a ramp up, please? No.
They give you a tiny bit of ramp and then it just goes straight up.
At least the Sony PlayStation version has better information management and more built-in context clues. Like, for example, what do any of these tarot cards do? I don't know. At least the PlayStation version tells you, press circle next to one and we will tell you. Oh, gee, thanks. That's helpful.
That's nice. So I did not look up what the tarot cards did. I would just look at it and be like, death. Okay, I think that'll probably do an attack, which always misses, by the way. I don't know if you ever had it hit. I never did.
I never deployed a death card.
Okay.
But the thing is, with the tarot, I think the tarot is, broadly speaking, an overused kind of leitmotif for a lot of these things. Mm-hmm. Even before I was playing the Persona games, I thought it was kind of overused. And then you have to wonder, like, which vibe are we doing? Are we doing the literal interpretation, where death is always bad and tower is kind of neutral? Or are we doing sort of like the quote-unquote original version, where death is fine and the tower is the worst thing ever? Like, I don't know. Yeah. Or is even that the original one? I think there are even people, when I've laid this out, they're like, oh, well, that's the 17th century French revival. Well, it's like, well, if you want to get super original, it was actually not the tower, but 2 toads on top of it. I don't know. It's so weird.
Yeah. So I mostly was just like, I don't know, temperance sounds like something that might heal me, so let's try and see. And I believe that one does, although I might be wrong. I don't remember.
I was having a little bit of fun experimenting with them, because, make no mistake, so what happens is a fight starts, and your little units start wailing on each other based on their own sort of crude AI that you have some degree of control over based on how they're positioned and what you tell them to go do.
Yeah.
And some of this is kind of delightful, but again, kind of lords into the information overload. Like, for example, you're told, if you want to raise your alignment, you shouldn't have your strong units beat the ever-loving crap out of the weak units. Try to make sure it's kind of a fair fight. I'm like, that's not an alignment thing. That's just a weird, like, what? Okay. So instead, it's weird. You have a different set of pressures. Unlike the thing, like, in a lot of strategy RPGs where you have to, like, okay, I need to level up my weak units. I need to find a way for them to get just enough experience points so they don't get left in the dust. Here it's a moral question, because you don't want to look like a bully. So it's an interesting new gloss, right? So they're wailing on each other, and you can just interrupt the combat by telling them to change their priorities or by just deploying a tarot card, which you get every time you liberate a city. It's kind of cool.
It is, and I guess the tarot card damage doesn't actually count toward whether or not you're going to win the encounter. So the encounter, whether you win the encounter or not, is completely based on which team did more damage to the other team, which I guess is very Unicorn Overlord of it. Or rather, Unicorn Overlord was very Ogre Battle.
Yep.
But any damage you do with the tarot doesn't matter at all, doesn't count. So you could use that, leave one guy to 1 hit point, but if they did more damage to you, you still lose.
Yeah, which doesn't mean that all your people die. It just means that whatever control you were attempting to exert over the map, you don't get. And even if they do die, there are temples that'll resurrect people. It's pretty permissive as far as these things are concerned, which is reasonable for a strategy RPG that has slightly more of a scope, right? Like, this isn't Fire Emblem. You don't really care too much about individual characters. This is more about the units and an overall balance of forces. And sure enough, there's tons of anonymous guys ready to fill your ranks to do all kinds of stuff. And again, it's mostly about managing them. You feel more like a quartermaster, some sort of weird combination of HR and procurement specialist for this army.
Yep.
It's really interesting. It's bursting with ideas. I think it was kind of ahead of its time in the console generation. This was the kind of stuff that CRPGs were doing more of at the time.
Yeah. Oh, especially hearing that feedback you mentioned about people wanting to be able to control the individual characters in battle. It's like, oh yeah, Ogre Battle was probably a little ahead of its time.
Definitely. Yeah, having fired up the PlayStation version largely out of curiosity, the graphics are very similar. With one change I very much disapprove of, and is totally a function of the time. They changed the font from what they used in the Super Nintendo version to the Diablo font. And I'm like, Diablo font!
Okay.
Well, it was like the mid to late 90s. Everyone was using the Diablo font for everything. It's cool and edgy.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny.
But I miss the fact that the voice samples are so much better, because now it's just digital voice clips, fine.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have fight it out. Instead, it's, much better. I kind of miss that, so it's less charming.
Yeah.
But you have so many more context clues through the menu system, and the menu system is slightly cleaner.
Nice.
So I'm strangely tempted to go back to the PlayStation version and fiddle around a little bit more with that. Because same ideas, same audacity, same sort of approach to things, but a little bit more user-friendly. That sounds like what I'm slightly more interested in.
That makes sense. Yeah, I think I rather enjoyed Ogre Battle March of the Black Queen for the same reasons that I rather enjoyed Unicorn Overlord. I did wish that it respected my time a little bit more, just because it would take so long to get characters sometimes from, the one area they're allowed to deploy to the conspicuous looking island off the coast of the map. But I had a lot of fun with it, and it definitely makes sense that I loved it so much when I had more time as well.
Yeah.
And I could see myself continuing at some point just to get more of those nostalgia feels.
I'm just waiting for the Freddie Mercury unit to show up and strut and dance its way across the stage wearing the white tank top and the jeans and the big mustache. He's probably overpowered.
Probably. He should be. Okay. So that was Ogre Battle, March of the Black Queen. And we are going to take a quick break for some ads, and we'll be right back. And we're back. All right. We're going to be moving on to our feature title, Dispatch. So Dispatch is 8 episodes long. It's very much a Telltale style game. If you ever played the Telltale Walking Dead series or Wolf Among Us or one of the many, many, many others that are out there, the 7th and 8th episodes just came out. It will have been a week ago as of when this airs. And Mark, why don't you tell us a little bit about Dispatch?
So what happens when Iron Man gets his suit destroyed? Well, maybe what's going to happen is he's going to work for the Superhero Dispatch Network, or SDN, where you can pay monthly fees. We're never told what they are. Presumably there are various strata of package. I don't know how much one has to pay to get Superman equivalent to come get your cat out of a tree. I expect it's pretty expensive, but who knows?
Yes.
And Robert is the main character, Robert Robertson III, and yes, they make fun of his name all the time, is sat behind a desk and has to navigate two broad challenges. One is being able to effectively dispatch a team of miscreant former supervillains called the Z-Team to various crises in and around a fictionalized version of southern Los Angeles. The other big challenge is navigating all the HR violations that are committed against him and possibly by him. It's a whole scene. Now, this is indeed, as Caitlin said, a Telltale style game. It was primarily written and directed by Nick Herman and Dennis Lennart, who are former Telltale employees, and they are largely responsible for AdHoc. AdHoc Studio, the studio that put out Dispatch, is pretty much Telltale 2.0, except for the fact that Telltale is still around. More on that later. It's a bit of a confusing situation because Herman and Lennart are still doing work with Telltale games, kind of, sort of, maybe. It's a bit of a scene. Anyway, so Dispatch is about the aftermath of Robert Robertson's effectively losing his superpowers through his suit. Yes. And the subsequent challenges, hilarity, and hijinks that ensue.
Indeed. I mean, the main thing that I can say about Dispatch is that there's a ton of characters, and I found pretty much every single one of them to be charming in their own way. Even Blonde Blazer, with all of her many HR violations she commits in the first episode.
Yeah.
She is an odd duck.
She is.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It's hard to get too much into without getting into spoilers, and rest assured, we spend a lot of time getting into detail about Blonde Blazer in particular. Now, okay, part of it is the writing. Yeah. These characters are well written. And even when they're not especially well written, because there are occasions where we have thought at various times that the writing wasn't quite up to the level of the rest of the show, because Dispatch is basically a show in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Then the charisma of the voice actors tends to compensate for that.
Yes.
So Aaron Paul of Breaking Bad is the main character, Robert Robertson. The rest of these people are individuals you might recognize from Critical Role, or you might recognize from 17,000 other major voice acting work that they've done. And all of the characters... So unlike... I've complained before about, I recognize that voice. I know that person a million times over. For whatever reason, the cast of Dispatch doesn't trigger any of that. They're all just very charismatic individuals. And I would like to call out that on a number of occasions, I won't necessarily get into which character, Caitlin and I have both been like, look, if this character were handled slightly less well, they would be a stock archetype and not very interesting. But at every opportunity for them to be the most reductive version of themselves, they're not. And they're slightly better than they would otherwise be. Which sometimes in video games you cannot expect.
Yes.
And so, consequently, the fact that the cast is so large and has so many colorful characters and often surprise you with small shifts that might challenge whatever preconceptions you might have had of them is a bit of a triumph, especially in the video game space. And that helps smooth out pretty much any other failure that Dispatch has along the way.
Yeah, I mean, and one of the things that I really enjoyed about Dispatch is the first time that you get to dispatch the Z-Team, they come right out and you pretty much know what each of them are like, to at least on a surface level, really fast. They stand out, like each of their personalities stands out. You know, you have the scary assassin lady, you have the weird broy Batman who is a bat
business bro. Bat business bro.
Yes, bat business bro. You have the guy who's already made himself known to you at this point, but like the somewhat... I mean, he's got a fiery attitude, flambe.
Did you seriously say that? Did you just...
I did. You know what?
Oh my goodness.
You know what, Mark? You have had more than your fair share of these.
Okay. It's true. Invisigal is transparent. I'm sorry. I will stand behind that. Circling back to Flambe, I just want to emphasize this because a number of people have missed this. His name is not, the name is spelled, it's not Flambe with an accent. His name is Flambae, and that is just perfect little icing on the cake.
Oh, yeah. He's got the deepest V-neck you've ever seen.
It
And
is so deep. It's past neck. It is.
yeah, you're right. It's a V.
It's
a V
way
everything.
past the neck. As Strongbad would say, that is a consummate V.
And then even some of the side characters, which may or may not become bigger characters over the course of the game, depending on your choices, they also have a lot of personality. And I fell in love with pretty much every single one of them. And I am, in fact, still looking forward to playing Dispatch again so that I can make different choices and get to know some of the other ones better.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about choices.
Yes.
Because this is one of those areas where I feel like Dispatch kind of stumbled.
Mm-hmm.
After episode 4, I think it, again, not getting into spoilers, Dispatch has a much better first half than second half. In the first half, you're given a bunch of choices that seem extraordinarily consequential, and in our discussions of episodes 3, 4, 5, 6, we were discussing radically different game states.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not radically different, but substantially different game states. Dispatch doesn't seem to want to commit. By the end of it, it desperately seeks to undercut the variation and sense of consequence that the earlier episodes had introduced, and that is one of my criticisms about the end of Dispatch. On top of that, there's a specific criticism that some people have. In past Telltale games, all your dialogue decisions are timed. There's a little bar and it's counting down, and if you don't make a decision in the past Telltale games, you remain silent, which is a choice in and of itself. Or there's a decision to be made and you fail to make the choice.
Mm-hmm.
In Dispatch, if you let the time run out, Robert makes a call.
Yeah.
Or there's some sort of default canonical something ending, and things just keep moving without your input. As somebody who never really felt overwhelmed and let time run out, I would always see the bar about to dwindle and I'd just be like, okay, I'm going to make a snap decision. That didn't really impact me, but I could definitely understand how it would disappoint a lot of people. What was your experience with that?
So I definitely did let the time run out once, rather early on, maybe episodes 2 or 3, because I didn't want to give a response. And I did give a response, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, Robert just makes up his mind. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I would have preferred a version closer to Telltale where it is possible sometimes to just not say anything and have characters react in kind.
It's weird because I really appreciated in The Outer Worlds 2 that we talked about just last week, the ability of the main character to just shut up and let other people talk.
Yeah.
Which you do surprisingly often, but in Dispatch, that's just not a call you can make.
No. Dispatch is not a man who shuts up.
Robert isn't particularly overbearing. He's got his flaws.
No. Yeah.
Right? But he's actually overall pretty humble as far as things go, especially given his overall position before the game starts. But apparently he is not willing to acquiesce and let other people be the driving force in a given conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, and I am probably going to play Dispatch one more time before I spoil myself and watch videos of other scenes that I missed.
That's what I've been doing.
Yes. There were a few things that happened in the final episode that I know can be different, but I do not yet know how different. And I'm getting the gist that it's not particularly different. But I'm still kind of interested in how that goes. And also kind of interested in whether they're planning to do more games in this universe, or a other game in this universe.
My understanding is that sales were very strong.
Yeah.
And that Aaron Paul is very enthusiastic about doing another season. So I wouldn't be at all surprised. This is a studio model, again, not Telltale, but it's basically Telltale, that has made multiple seasons of multiple games before. I see no reason why we'll not see more Dispatch unless something very strange happens. I mean, again, I don't find the universe especially interesting. Like, the notion of there being an SDN in the context of superheroes is kind of cute. But it's mostly the characters. It's like, do you have buy-in? Do you immediately care about these characters? And with respect to so many, this is a large cast, and each and every one of them I adore. It's great. Yeah. In fact, the only one that I think was kind of underwritten is the chief villain. But that's kind of okay. Whatever. It's fine. Matthew Mercer's delivery carries through a lot of it. It's all right. The other thing that differentiates Dispatch, but I think in this case in a purely positive way from a lot of other Telltale games, is that Dispatch has way more actual gameplay.
Yeah.
It's overwhelmingly a visual novel slash TV show slash whatever. That is overwhelmingly the dominant genre. But into this, they've inserted a somewhat sparse but surprisingly effective real-time management sim.
Yeah.
Where you're triaging threats and dispatching superheroes. And I was shocked at how effective it is. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I mean, they managed to give us snippets of each of the heroes' personalities while we are dispatching them, which is fantastic. So even if you're not actually making decisions story-wise, you're still getting to see more of the characters. And the decisions, mostly, there's one mechanic I really didn't like, but mostly they were fun. I really enjoyed the dispatch sessions overall.
I really wish that there was kind of a roguelite
Hell yeah.
version of this where they would like randomize threats and throw them at you and like give you the cast at like level 1 and you like it would not be a trivial mod. This would be a substantial addition.
Yeah.
But suffice to say, at the end of playing the 8 episodes of Dispatch, I was like, that was a satisfying story. I liked the beginning more than the end. I'd be happy to do more sitting in the chair doing the management thing, which is weird because in many other cases it would just be padding. Or because it's so graphically sparse, the interface actually using a controller is pretty bad. There were a number of cases where I missed a call because everything's under a time pressure because these little alerts pop up, and here I am frantically trying to get. There's no cursor. I'm just trying to highlight the thing with my direction pad. I'm like, oh, fine. I reach for the mouse and it's too late. I hope it's better on consoles. Oh my goodness, poor console players.
Oh yeah, I wasn't even thinking about the fact that this could be played. Yeah, I never tried to play with a controller because it felt like a mouse and keyboard game to me. But I never played on handheld or anything. Anyway,
in hindsight, I probably should have just been using the mouse the entire time. It's a whole thing. But yeah, I enjoyed it. And like by the end of the sessions, I was really feeling it. It was intense. Like you're making tough calls. And again, the game of Dispatch is largely fooling you into thinking that your actions have consequences, but it's a successful deception. I felt it. I internalized the tension, even though on a more abstract conscious level, I knew that I was just being fooled. And that's all that a game needs to do. A story is, at the end of the day, part deception anyway, and so it was a successful one, so I don't care.
One thing I wanted to ask is, how did you feel about how they released 2 episodes at a time?
I think it was probably good for my state of mind, because if they'd all been released at the same time, I would have finished it all in one day.
Me too.
Because that's how compelling I found it. I would have just mainlined the whole thing. I would have played for 10 hours straight. And that's not good for anyone.
No.
And as it is, every week, I was sitting there on the Steam page at Nude hitting refresh.
Yeah.
So I could download it as soon as possible and play it right away. And I think that gave me a better chance to appreciate it and sit on some of the themes. Now, this did help set up greater disappointment for some of the things that I felt failed to manifest for the endgame. But it did also give me more chance to talk about it with you. And since, again, one thing that listeners may not appreciate is the extent to which this podcast was born of Telltale games is non-trivial. And in one of the bonus episodes, I do a callback to our discussion of A Wolf Among Us.
Yeah.
Which we had years and years ago, back when
so
the game
long
was
ago,
released.
yeah.
What do you think about the release schedule?
So I was initially a little bit bummed. Like, you can't tell me what to do. I'll mainline this game if I want to. But now that, the last episodes have come out, I think I'm actually pretty happy with the fact that they did that. Because, yes, it allowed each pair of episodes to stand more on its own, for me to think more about what happened. It was nice being able to discuss it with somebody without being worried about, like, oh, well, what if Mark played one more episode than me? You couldn't have. So it was really nice to be able to discuss it like that. It almost felt like, watching a TV show that is, a new episode's coming out every week.
I think if it had been 1 episode a week, I would have felt less good about it. I think if it had been 2 episodes every 2 weeks, I would have felt less good about it.
Yes.
And frankly, I think they did a reasonably good job, especially in the first 3 segments, of making them kind of self-contained. They weren't like a full story in themselves, but they ended on a pretty good beat. Episode 2 ended at a much more complete story than, say, episode 3 would have. If it had ended at episode 3, it would be like, that's an odd place to pause, but okay. So it had good bits. I've seen a lot of like novel adaptations where they adapt them to television, like 4 2-hour episodes. And at the end of episode 2, you're like, why did we stop there? That's a strange place to end. It's like, well, that's how much story we had to adapt. Okay. So they did a reasonably good job of it. They played very well to the constraints of their release schedule.
Yep, I agree with that. I know that there were people out there who were pretty annoyed about, like, oh, well, I paid full price for a game and I should be able to have all 8 episodes right away. And I get it, but also I don't think that waiting 4 weeks was horrible.
3 weeks.
Yeah, you're right. Because the first 2 were already there.
These are people that are willing to pull full price for an early access game and have it be incomplete for 18 months with nary a complaint. And they're ready to go to the ramparts over a 3-week delay? So that, I mean, come on, give me a break.
Yeah, I mean, and it's possible some people were maybe surprised by the release schedule. I was not. I knew it was going to be that way for months before it released. But still, I did end up genuinely, I mean, liking it is maybe a strong word, but I didn't dislike it like I thought I was going to. And I think that there were actually some advantages to doing a release schedule that way. And I liked that it was all done before the game came out, so that we didn't have to worry about delays or whatever. Like, no, It's 2 episodes every week. Go.
It felt very conscious and considered.
Yes.
And that was clear in the gameplay and in the way the episodes were structured. The one criticism I have is that I think they could have done a better job of communicating their release schedule to the people who bought it before the game was fully out. It is on the Steam page, but not at the very top.
Yeah.
And it's not anywhere in the game itself. If I hadn't known, if I just been walked in, if I just bought it in the first 2 weeks or so, I think before you start a new game, during the first 2 weeks of release, it should have said, BT dubs, this is what's available, you're good to go.
Yes, I agree with that. I think if that had been communicated like on the splash screen on the game before you hit play or something, that would have been pretty nice.
The analogy I would give is people who saw the second Spider-Verse movie not knowing that it was the second of a planned trilogy. Because I know some people who didn't know that, and they were outraged by the fact that the movie doesn't really end on an end. And it kind of does. But they're like, wait, what? It's like, there's going to be a third movie. You didn't know? It's like, I didn't know! How? What?
I did know, and I was a little salty about it. I was like, you're telling me I have to wait how long?
Well, it's not even just about the wait. It's about, there are ways to show contempt for an audience's expectation. Right? Subverting expectations is good, but contempt for expectations or having expectations frustrated to that extent is bad. And it is one thing to expect a pause or some kind of narrative beat versus the end of a story.
Yeah.
And so I can completely understand people who loaded up Dispatch or who watched the second Spider-Verse movie not knowing that it was planned to end in a certain way and not appreciating that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I loved Dispatch. I thought it was great. The first half of the game made me think that it might be a contender for my game of the year. It is not, but it's wonderful. I highly recommend it. There's a demo that is much of episode 2. I cannot recommend trying the demo highly enough. It is a perfect demonstration of what the game is like. It will communicate the tone. It will communicate the gameplay. Go give it a shot if you're even remotely curious. I have zero enthusiasm for superhero stuff, broadly speaking. Marvel has killed much of that to a large extent. But Dispatch won me over completely, and I thought it was wonderful.
Yes, I would say, if you are very sure that you're going to buy Dispatch, I would skip the demo. Because yes, it is a lot of episode 2.
Point taken.
But if you don't know, absolutely try the demo. It's definitely going to give you a good idea of what Dispatch is about and what it's like.
Good recommendation.
Okay. So that was Dispatch, and now we can move on to some shameless hyping of upcoming titles in our Shout segment. Mark, what are you going to shout out today?
So, The Wolf Among Us 2, Caitlin.
Yes.
So, not too long after The Wolf Among Us was released, which was a Telltale game based on the Fable universe that was released in, I think, 1976. This is what we call in the professional broadcasting industry hyperbole. They started working on a sequel, and it's kind of... Okay, I'm Based on my read, it appears to be borderline vaporware. I don't derive any joy in calling it this, but that's my sincere understanding of what's going on. So, the aforementioned Herman and Lennart, who directed and wrote much of Dispatch, say that they've done a lot of work on The Wolf Among Us 2 for Telltale Games, which apparently is still theoretically extant. And last they spoke about it, which was months ago, they swore up and down that it was still a thing. But here we are. And my concern is amplified by the fact that it's a licensed title. Now, granted, it's a Vertigo imprint Vertigo is like a B to C tier comics publisher, and it's not exactly a highly in-demand license. This isn't like a Marvel or DC license or anything, but still, it's a licensed property. Licenses expire, licensees change hands, contracts change. I don't know what's going to happen, man. I loved The Wolf Among Us.
Me too.
It was an interesting take on the Fable universe, even though as a longtime appreciator of the Fable comics, it was a radically different tone, but that's fine. It was like a counterpart to the Fable universe. I'd really like to see Wolf Among Us 2. It's been a long time since I played a Telltale-style game. Dispatch reminded me about how much I loved it.
Yeah.
From all the little details, including the little bits where during the credits you find out what proportion of the internet made the same decisions you made, crap like that. Yeah, I would like more. I would like the success of Dispatch to revitalize this part of the industry. I would like it to light a fire under Telltale's collective ass. I would like to see this released. I would like to see more from AdHoc. I would like to see more from Telltale. But I say this with the full consciousness that Wolf Among Us 2 may never exist.
Yeah, just the other day, somebody linked me a YouTube video that was talking about kind of the making of Dispatch and how apparently Dispatch was going to be a TV show at one point, and then they ended up pivoting. Rather substantially, yeah. Yeah, but I was like, wait, what do you mean they did a ton of work on Wolf Among Us 2? I want to play Wolf Among Us 2.
Maybe someday, Caitlin.
Maybe someday. So, I am going to shout out Grimshire. It is self-described as a dark, cozy game.
Things are getting out of control.
Oh, yes.
Things are out of hand.
Absolutely. I do not disagree. But you play this anthropomorphic character who escaped their hometown and found a new home in the secluded mountain village of Grimshire. Why would you name your town Grimshire if you don't want something bad to happen to it? I don't know. But you are tasked with restoring the old farmhouse, tending the fields, and you need to work together and ensure that the community works together in order to survive the coming plague, which I assume is what happened to your hometown. I don't know. But like you apparently have like a root cellar, and you need to make sure that you have food for both herbivores and carnivores. And it looks fun. It was released early access in July, and there's a demo that I have not tried yet. I am planning to try out the demo. Do not know when Grimshire is supposed to come out for realsies, but I'm pretty jazzed by the fact that it exists because I'm a sucker for cozy games, cozy farming games especially, and this looks like a neat little twist that maybe I will enjoy.
Looking at the Steam page and watching the trailer, it's definitely leaning more into the cozy and cute than it is to the dark survival element. Now, that having been said, sometimes it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Because every time I think of this genre, I forget how deeply weird and twisted Stardew Valley is. You scratch a little bit under the surface, and suddenly your abandoned children are turning into birds, and there are deep eldritch forces that are chthonic entities that are very dangerous and inscrutable. So I don't know, but all I see is a whole bunch of cute rabbit people.
Yeah, there's cute rabbit people. I think part of what they're trying to do is making you actually care about the villagers so that when they get the plague and die, you will be sad. But I don't know. It seems neat. So hopefully it's fun. We'll see when it becomes a real game someday.
Cozy needs to be retired. It jumped the shark years ago. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, that's okay.
Do you know how we'll know it's really jumped the shark?
How?
When we see the cozy competitive shooter or the cozy competitive fighting game.
Yes, that will be. It's like, oh, okay. That word has ceased to have any meaning whatsoever.
Exactly.
Okay. So that does it for this episode of All My Best Friends Are Digital. Thank you all so much for joining us. If you'd like to support us, you can check out our Patreon at patreon.com/amfad. And I hope you all have a wonderful week. And we'll see you next time.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening. If you'd like to get in touch, you can reach us at allmybestfriendsareddigital@gmail.com. Hope to see you again soon.